Hi guys, and welcome back to Platicando Verde Blanco y Todo, a podcast. I'm your host, Maya de la Luz. Let's get started. Hi guys, welcome back. Today's episode is going to be a little bit more on the serious side. So, if anybody keeps up with every year's National So-and-so month for the year, you may know that this month is National Mental Wellness Month for January 2024. So, trigger warning if mental health or any type of disorder that falls under anything like that is a trigger to you, please feel free to stop watching this today and tune in to next week's episode instead. My intention is never to trigger anybody or say or do anything that will cause any harm in that way. So, fair warning, that is what today's episode will be about. So, just FYI, um, it's going to be just a little of everything. And that's specifically what today's episode is for. So I just wanted to put that out there. All right. So if you follow me on TikTok, you may have seen the video that I uploaded a couple days ago about why I hadn't posted in 3 weeks, I believe. So just to recap, I actually didn't have a specific reason. Just it was seemed like it was one thing after another, and I mentioned that the devil was working overtime because every time that I was going to record or, had the plan to, for whatever reason, it didn't work out. The freeze happened, and if y'all follow me, I'm in the Houston area, so we don't know what to do with that weather. We don't know what to do in the snow or drive in. It's not even snow, it was ice. We don't know what to do with that. So we shut down. So usually I record when my daughter's with her dad, and she was home. She didn't go to school, so that was a bump in the road. And then getting back to work and making up those days, it was just hectic. And then I tried to record 2 days ago, Saturday, and I started recording, and I ran out of space on the phone I'm using to record. So I said, no big deal. I'll just use a different one or whatever. And something told me, go watch what you just recorded. It had been a whole 20 minutes. Great. It literally was like one thing after another. It was gonna be a good episode. Well, about a minute and 58 seconds in, I realized the sound was no longer recording. So yeah, after that, at that point, it was after I had gone to a comedy show, and it was probably about 4 a.m. at this point, 5 a.m. maybe. And at that point, I was just defeated. I just went to bed. There was nothing else that I could do with that. So, better late than never. Here we are, using the final day of the month to shed a little bit of light and talk about a little bit about mental health wellness, different disorders. By no means am I a medical professional, but I did my best to research for this topic and to bring a bit of the statistics just so we can get a better idea, better understanding. This is for people that may suffer from mental health illnesses. This is maybe for people that think that they do and they just haven't been diagnosed. And this is just a little bit as well so that people that maybe don't believe that mental health is real can have a little better understanding of things that other people go through and possibly realize maybe it is true or not. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but like I always mention, this is my humble opinion growing up Mexican, especially. And if you know, you know, mental health is not real. Mental health is, you're not depressed, you're lazy. Mental health is more, it's a very unspoken topic, yet it's something very real. And it's one of those things that you don't know what it's like until you go through it and then you understand it. So I always start episodes with a little bit of stuff maybe that has happened to me or, something like that. So I just really wanted to share. So, like I always mention, I'm a mom. When I was actually pregnant with my daughter, now it wasn't the best pregnancy. My health was great, but it was just an emotional roller coaster more than it typically is for X, Y, and Z reasons. But after I had her, 2 weeks after I had her, I got some very devastating news, and I started struggling with postpartum depression. Um, I knew I had to get out of bed because obviously I had to feed and take care of my kid and still be a wife and still try to keep up with showering, eating, using the restroom, brushing my teeth, just basic things. So, and I'll never forget this. So, I was suffering with postpartum depression. I tried to talk about it with someone and they shut it down. Basically, shut it down, said that postpartum is not real and I just had a beautiful, healthy baby girl. And how could I be so ungrateful for what God just blessed me with? Because at this point, I had been trying to get pregnant for about 2 years, and God finally, granted me my wish. And how could I be so ungrateful? Because I have a beautiful baby girl. She's healthy, and it's just this new chapter of life. And how could I just be so ungrateful for that? So, you know, obviously this was not what I wanted to hear, not what I needed to hear. And so, así quedó. Um, well, let's fast forward to 4 years later. This same person um, called me crying one day and said that they were suffering from depression. First, they told me, this is how I'm feeling. I just feel like I work so hard and it's for nothing, and X, Y, and Z. And they ended their venting with, I think I'm depressed. It's hitting me hard and this and that. And every part of me, every angry part of me with this person just wanted to say, well, how could you be so ungrateful? How can you think that way when you have this and this? But it's not about that. Mental health, especially, it's different for everybody. Different people handle it different ways. Me, for example, before I even had the postpartum depression, I had to deal with other stuff before that, and that put me in depression. Um, and at that point, not diagnosed. So to me, it's like, why am I staying in bed till noon? Why am I not wanting to wash my hair today? Stuff like that. And it was like, it if you're not, and I say a fan, but if you're not a fan, if you don't accept that mental health is real and this and that, as we are most Hispanics raised to be, then you just think you're being lazy, or people around you think you're being lazy. So I was going to bed at a good time. I was still, waking up, packing lunch, no, packing breakfast. And this is where I'm going with that story. Packing breakfast, not packing lunch because with my then husband, I would wake up late because when you're depressed, and like I said, it's different for everybody. For myself, I knew I needed to do stuff, and I knew I had to get up. I knew I had to do this and that, but I just had no willpower. All I wanted to do was lay down. I didn't know why. It wasn't like I was laying there playing on my phone or anything. I was just laying there. Sometimes I couldn't even sleep anymore, but I couldn't bring myself to wake up, to get up, I should say. So I would wake up late to pack him his breakfast and lunch. So I would pack his breakfast and I would, do something quick, and then I would tell him, I'll take you lunch. Well, I can't even count how many times I would wake up right at, I believe his lunch used to be at 12:30, but I used to wake up right at 12:30 and just feel like shit because there's no way that his lunch ends at 1 and I'm gonna make it and he's gonna have time to eat and I'm still have to either go buy something or make something. There's no way. So that was, not easy to deal with, because forever I was the pack breakfast, pack lunch type of person. Um, have dinner ready, go to the gym, go to work, just everything. And at that point in my life, I didn't want to do anything. So that's very hard, if you've ever had to deal with that. But back to the story about this person. So, how do you respond to that? How do you ignore the fact that the same person, when it's a woman's most vulnerable time, tells you that they're depressed when the other shoe was when the foot when the shoe was on the other foot, told you that that's not real, that you're being ungrateful, and was just not receptive to even trying to understand that. um and I really had to just stop and realize that that's not the person I wanted to be. And instead of turning around and saying, being ugly about it, I just said, I listened and I said everything's going to be okay. You can't give up. This person needs you. And so, you know, like I said, mental health is about supporting those that need to be supported, because it's not it's I like to say that it's a chronic disease. It doesn't go away. It comes in waves, it comes in seasons. You might hear about seasonal depression and think people are joking, and it's not a joke. When it gets cold outside and dark outside, fall and winter and stuff, that's the time that depression acts up. Turn the light down. But yeah, so that is very real. Seasonal depression, stuff like that. So it comes in waves. It's not like, the typical what is kind of put out there to be, that it's the like anxiety, like the rocking back and forth. It's not that. Anxiety can come in many different ways, shapes, forms. It can be, being anxious about doing something that you already know how to do, just thinking something's gonna go wrong. It's just a lot of things. So aside from that, I feel that it's not always easy to kind of figure out that somebody is going through something like that, because especially, and I always go back to this because this is just what I grew up with as well. Um, Growing up Hispanic, you don't talk about your feelings. Um, Even now, I still have to remind my parents, and it's been hard, but I feel like I've succeeded in doing a little bit of rewiring and kind of making them understand that this is not the generation they grew up in, and this is not the same life that they lived, that we're living, their kids. And so it's definitely difficult, but learning to share your feelings, knowing when to ask for help, knowing when to realize and accept that, it might be time to seek help or counseling, or um, I know a lot of times we don't want to get on like antidepressants and just medication that will help us with that, but if it's something that's needed, it's needed. Um, and that's another thing with the Hispanic community. We don't believe in counseling. They don't believe, and I say they because I 100% do. I 100% believe that if you go talk to somebody, it opens the door to figuring out why you feel that way, why you do the things that you do, why you act the way you act, and just a little of everything. Um, but it's more than just that. There's anxiety, there's depression, um, substance abuse, addiction. I know I still have that episode in the works because it's just so much. And if you've never dealt with either watching somebody struggle with substance abuse or addiction, or losing somebody to substance abuse, or just a lot of times losing them losing them in life, um, they're not the same person that you meet. If you meet somebody and they continue to abuse drugs, alcohol, whatever the case may be, it's not the same person. And it's very hard. It's not something that's easily done, because like I mentioned before, it's not that anybody that struggles with addiction is a bad person. At some point in life, they took the wrong turn, made the decision of using drugs, using alcohol, and at another point in time they just started abusing it, and it starts off as casual drinking or drug party drug of choice, and then it turns into you ruining relationships with your family, with your significant other, with your career, and just stuff like that. So I know that that's a little tough one with substance abuse and addiction, um, when we say that it's a disease, but 100% it is, because if you really start looking into it and researching, you realize that it's, yes, it was a decision to be made at first, but then it turns into something that you can no longer control, and it's chronic. So um, they recommend, just as any other disease, to avoid triggers, to avoid anything that will cause you a relapse. And 100 times out of 100, they say that the only cure for addiction is to completely stop use, because once you are addicted to it and you go sober, you can't go back to being a casual drinker, a casual smoker, or anything like that, just because it does that heavy of a rewiring to the brain. So, and like I said, by no means am I a professional, but if you know me, you know that once I really get into something, I do so much research that no sé de dónde pongo tanta información. Um, and I didn't want to miss anything, so I'm looking at notes that I made. Bipolar disorder, just a lot of things. PTSD, super real, schizophrenia, suicidal thoughts, and AL.org. And that's where I got my statistics. So for the Hispanic community, it is said that 16% of Latino or Hispanic Americans suffer from a mental health illness. And let's remember, this is only diagnosed. This is not the people that go undiagnosed because they are ashamed, because they are afraid to go. So this does not account for everyone that needs help. This is just the ones that spoke up and got, you know, were diagnosed. So that puts the number at 10 million. That blows my mind. And as far as treatment, like I said, we are not very likely to ask for the help. So the chances that we even go to treatment are very slim. And another thing, I feel with the machismo culture, it has evolved. However, I still believe that feelings is not something we talk about. Um, with our men in our culture, they suffer in silence. That's it, plain and simple. Um, they are seen as the strong ones, as the providers, as the los hombres no lloran. They are seen as just like the rock, and the women are seen as the flower, and that's that's not it. Um, a lot of people that I know, a lot of men that I know, at one point or another, just bottle it in so much. And growing up, especially with my dad, I remember, I can probably count on one hand the times I've seen him cry. I saw him cry back in 2007 when my grandma passed away and he wasn't able to attend the funeral. And after that, I think the next time he cried was when I got married. And the time after that was when my daughter was born. Probably the fourth time had to have been one of the deep conversations that he ended up having with my brother. But other than that, I'm a big crybaby. I cry for everything. I can't even get mad at somebody, or I can't even, you know, without crying. I'm a very emotional person. But my dad, I can honestly, I've seen him cry no more than 5 times. And even when I was little and I would get upset about something and I would cry, he would try to play it off and joke as like, ¿por qué estás llorando? ¿No eres hombre o qué? Like, I was always daddy's little girl. Literally, my dad would dress me up in boots, jeans, and like button up shirt. And it's funny because I'm wearing one today, but no, like camisas de niño. con mi tejana, like I was a little tomboy because my dad, I mean, I was the only kid. His sons didn't grow up with us, my brothers. And by the time that I was, little, at that age of like 6, 7, they were already adults. So yeah, he would make that joke and he would kind of like play it off and laugh and whatever. And ¿por qué estás llorando? ¿No eres hombre? Like it wasn't the don't cry, I'm gonna give you something to cry about. It was the don't cry, boys don't cry type thing, but as a joke to kind of like make me stop crying. And I was like, no, no soy niño, like So they don't share. It goes, and yes, the story that I told about the person, yes, that it is a male. So for him to be strong enough to, brave enough, I should say, to speak up, I'm very proud. That in itself, I was proud. And I'm not the type of person that because you did this, I'm gonna do it back. Karma is very real, and you don't put out into the universe anything that doesn't come back to you. So imagine I, you know, talk to him the way he talked to me when I try to share that. That's only going to put me in a position where at one point or another it's going to come back. So no thank you. um but definitely yes, back to our men and the lack of communication. um Men in general are not very good at communicating, and when it comes about, when it comes to feelings, and then when it comes to them talking about something that's going to make them look weak, they're not going to talk about it. But it's very sad, it's very unfortunate, because a lot of times they suffer in silence. Like I said, they suffer in silence. They don't let anybody help them. um Us as sisters, friends, wives, mothers, um we offer we can offer the help, we can offer that shoulder to cry on, but because a lot of times they feel that they'll be made fun of. I feel they, just in general, they don't want to share it. And it's very sad. And I keep saying it's very sad, but because it does make me very sad that they are the ones always strong for everybody, and they feel, which is not true at all, but they feel that they can't go to somebody for that. And a lot of men have lost their lives, or just live miserable because they deal with thinking that they have to do it all. I know plenty of men that feel like they have to have that stay at home wife, they have to be the sole provider, and it's fucking killing them. I mean, I'm gonna say it how it is, it's killing them. Because they are raised in the machismo in them, or whatever it is. I mean, I'm not a man, I don't know, but whatever it is that they feel that if they let their wife work, then it's going to make them any less of a man, and it's not. I mean, we live in a society where everything's expensive as fuck, and you need two incomes. I mean, bless the people that their wife doesn't have to work, but there's nothing wrong with it. And I may just be a workaholic, or whatever, but I don't see anything wrong with that. And them asking for help, and a two income household, it lightens the load on both the husband and the wife, and the happier, happy spouse, happy house. It's not happy wife, happy life. No, we're thinking about both. um so yeah, so if you know anybody that you see, is always the happy person, the party, the life of the party and stuff, you might want to check on them for sure. A lot of times those are the people that go through the most. And check on your friends that seem to always have it together. Check on your friends that seem that they always, um, solve other people's problems, because those are the people that feel that nobody can help them because they're the problem solver. They don't want to be the problem. But we all need that sometimes. If you follow me on TikTok as well, the other night I don't know what got into me. Again, it's like I said, depression, anxiety, it all comes in waves. I was driving home from dropping off a birthday gift, and I was fine. I mean, honestly, like I, I don't think, and I mean, I can ask the person that I went to go drop this off to, but I didn't seem like I didn't feel like I was, upset or anything. Um I was listening to music. I was, like I got dancing in the car and stuff at the light. And then again, that brings me to the people that act and, the happiest. It comes in waves. And I felt very upset out of nowhere, and I started crying, and I just had certain thoughts that came over me, and they just seemed odd and rare, and that's exactly what mental health is. We and again, this is me as a first generation Mexican oldest daughter. um I am the problem solver. I am everybody's go to. I have always been the mom of the friend group. I have been this and that for my parents. When I was married, I literally was the family accountant, everything, like everything, secretary, like I was everything. And I continue to do those things in my job, for friends. Like I am the go to person. I love being, you know, reliable. I never ever mind when somebody's like, "Hey, can you show me this?" Or "Hey, can how do you do this?" Or "Hey, can you help me?" I never ever mind. Because I know what it's like to not be able to ask anybody, not be able to count on anybody, and I would never want anybody to feel that way. Um, but I don't know. Like I said, that day I just something came over me. I was feeling very upset. It came in just a wave, and I was just fine, and out of nowhere I was no longer fine. I prayed the whole way, what I thought was home, and I drove right past home. I drove right past home. I went straight to the church I grew up at. I got out the car and I started crying. I just started crying. I just started crying. I started praying. Um, there are a few challenges that me and my personal life am in dealing right now that, I'm a very firm believer that everything happens for a reason, and it sounds like but everything does happen for a reason. Nothing that you have to deal with or overcome is for nothing. You either learn from it, or it's sent to teach you that patience, just always something. Nothing is just for funsies. Um but I felt a lot better after I just sat there and cried and prayed, and I cleared my mind, and I really just needed that. But I don't know, it just, like I said, it comes in waves. It's different for everyone. um I never I've never had the type of family, my parents or anything, that to ask me like, how are you? If anything, it's a lot of my friends, and like I said, it's our generation that is. But really, what I just wanted to focus on is helping us better understand that there is help. It's okay to ask for help, but also at the same time to accept and learn how to listen when somebody is ready to talk to you. Um, a lot of our kids are, the younger generation sometimes is afraid to, tell you this, and this because you've reacted a certain way in the past. Um, your husband may be afraid to tell you because he thinks that you're gonna think that he's less of a provider, or you're gonna judge him, or that kind of thing. So I know that definitely we can work on both things. The learning how to talk about it, um, and learning how to listen. So just in general, though, it's not about who's right or who's wrong, but more so that everybody as a community, us as just a culture, make the necessary changes that need to be made, because I mean, times are changing, and so do we. Like, we need to change. We need to learn how to get with the times and stuff, and know that these things are real. So if there's anything else that you guys want me to talk about, I constantly post on my Instagram, just kind of asking you guys for your opinion, because at the end of the day, like I said, I do this for you guys, to help anybody that can be helped, that wants help, that maybe is dealing with something and needs, you know to know that there are other people out there going through the same things. That's why, um, like I said on my TikTok, I think it's so cringe. Like literally, I'm like, why do people cry on camera? But the day that I was crying and I was, it was just something so weird. I wanted to share it because I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, I'm an open book. Um, there's nothing that anybody can say about me that I won't talk about myself. Um, but I truly don't mind. Sometimes I feel like I overshare, and at the end of the day, I really don't care. We are all going through something, even if we want to act like we're not. Some people want to act like their life is perfect, and that's great for them, but I know sure as hell mine isn't. Um, Life is one thing after another, and that's how you learn. Um, but never will I be that person that wants to act like everything's okay because it's not. So yeah, that wraps up today's episode. So, like I mentioned before, if there's anything else that you want to talk about, if there are any chismecillos que quieren platicar, you know how Itati does the Google form to send in. Don't ask me how I know, but no, seriously, I have an anonymous link on my Instagram. It's a NGL link where you can send un chismecillo, or if there's anything that you want to me to answer or talk about. Or I know a lot of times people are like, I don't want to talk about, I don't want anybody to know that I said that. It's completely anonymous there. If ever you feel that you want to message me and you don't care about being anonymous, obviously, unless you tell me, unless you say it's fine to share who it is because you want to be tagged, that's fine. Otherwise, I never mention who it's from. But yeah, los chismecillos. I love a good chisme. Um, but today was just a little more serious, so I didn't no conté chismecillos. But yeah, any topic suggestions? Soon I'll be doing looking for a co-host for certain episodes. I have another thing that I have in the works where I'm gonna look for 4 or 5 other people. Just a lot of good things coming. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for listening. I look forward to next week's episode. Bye.